So what's happening, y'all? You know, we're here with my brother, both my brothers now. One I've known for 27 years. His name is Lou Sims. You know, he just came home. Did his time like a man for whatever reasons. And, he's been home for like a month. And with all my friends, I know what's good for me. I always think it's great to have a conversation with someone that can relate and give you an objective opinion on things. I've been through a lot with Taj, talking to him weekly, lost baby, going through all the jail that I'm going through. And I always had level head. And I think the problem with therapy with black people is, most black people don't get therapy, so they study evidence of white people. And this is what Taj taught me. So when a black person does get it, or someone of our culture, they don't get the right therapy. So, Lou's home. He has a show, couple of shows. Taj has a show, Healing is Gangster. So the first thing I'm going to do is connect my brothers so we be one family. But, I think having your body right is important. Health is wealth. But your brain and your mentality and your soul having to be aligned and being able to recognize trauma that needs to be dealt with that you thought was normal just because you had to survive, I think that's key. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Taj and I'm going to introduce Lou Sims. And, actually, Taj, you take it from there. We walk him through it.
I don't know exactly what he knows already about me. I'm a registered mental health expert, clinical psychologist, marriage and family therapist. Also happen to be from the neighborhood. Fast game, I live that life. So I have an intimate understanding of the trauma associated, and some of the traps we tend to fall into coming out of the community. When I say the community, I mean just the hood in general, whether it's L.A. Harlem, wherever, and one of the reasons why I decided to even enter this field in the first place and become a doctor and do all these things was to help people such as myself. And it's always a pleasure for me to try to help, people that, especially that's going to be acclimated, back into society, that went through some of the same things I've been through and more in my life. So to help however I can.
So real quick, Lou and I knew Lou right before a couple of years before I broke into music business. And I went off and did legendary things. And, Lou was someone in the street that, if you didn't know him, you heard about him. But with me, we were always friends, always brothers. I never had to see that side of him. It wasn't no reason other than respect for one another as brothers. But it's just, always interesting to me. He's a guy that I find very intelligent, very loyal. He played the game according to the game. He just played it in a very severe way and dealt with the recourse of it. But overall, I just feel like a guy like this that came up under a different circumstance would have had a completely different trajectory. And I wanted y'all to talk about that. And then also, what it's like to have to go through something like that, surviving, going to jail, and never having someone to talk to. And I know he paints and does all kind of other things, but these type of things aren't provided there in the jails and in the system. And I'd like him to talk about what he thinks and how therapy could help things after he talks to you, And, Lou, I'd like to hear what you got to say. What's up, Lou?
As far as like therapy?
Yeah, but actually, I'm going to let, go ahead, Taj, walk him through it. So you ask him a question and, we'll go through it like that.
I mean, have you ever seen a therapist or a psychologist or got any kind of therapy or anything before?
Yeah. In state biz and federal biz, you got to go through as far as like seeing a psych. That's just part of especially when you go to lockdown programs. The lockdown programs that they got now, you don't have to. When I first came in the system, like in the early 90s, in order for you to go to a lockdown program, you had to see a psych and be evaluated for the period of time that you was going to be locked down. So they got to evaluate and see if you're mentally strong for that lockdown long period or not. But now they don't go through it, I guess, because the time is shorter They done went from 3 to 5 years to 18 months to 12 months now. You know, so I guess like this seems like the mind is strong enough to withstand the 12-month programs now.
Oh, right. So you was getting more of an assessment than therapy, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, that's good to know because there is a difference.
Definitely.
You want to say something, Dan?
Well, one of the things he was talking about was, when he was supposed to go home, he was in Texas, and then the storm happened. And tell that story and how that made you feel and the anxiety it gave you.
Well, first of all, I came home on the 18th. The storm hit on the 15th. So it cleared up by the time I was coming, around the time my date was supposed to come, the 18th, it cleared up around the 15th. But due to the fact that the storm affected jail so hard, it changed my date to the next week, which was the 25th. When I got down to R&B on the 25th, packed out, closed out, and everything, and gave all my stuff away, the person that drove me to the bus station from the camp, he didn't show. So they had to send me back to my cell. So I was traumatized after that. I was like, man, because I didn't want to go back to a cell. I was like, I could take a cab, or you know what I'm saying, have somebody come pick me up. But they sent me back to the cell because I was still their property, going to the halfway house.
And you had given your stuff away too, right?
Right. So just me going back, having to go back, change back out to the prison pages, and go back to that cell with the same, the same environment that I'm trying to leave, I was traumatized off of that for a minute, you know what I'm saying? I ain't even sleep that night, wondering if it was a conspiracy to keep me in there,
And our other brother in common, Daniel, and we've all spoken together. So this is what we have in common. You've heard a lot about Lou in the movies, and I don't know. So how would you approach this? Talking to someone like Lou, like, do we talk to him about what got him, like what his charges were, and then how he dealt with that? And how do you deal with that?
Well, basically, what I like to do is I try to meet whoever I'm talking to. In this instance, I refer to him as a client, right? If I'm dealing with a client in a similar situation, what I try to do is I try to meet them where they're at. Like some people will come in with an initial goal. They feel like, I'm having trouble with this. It could be, I'm having anxiety being out, getting used to the flow of everything, because the flow of everything is different outside than it is inside. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
Yeah, so it's like, on the inside, you got program, you know what I'm saying? You got a program that you kind of follow, day to day, especially the people that's, doing like, stretches. You know what I'm saying? So they have a program that they kind of do day to day. And some of these people, how long did you do? 27 years. Okay. So I can imagine during that 27-year stretch, you had some kind of organization, like a program that you would tend to follow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of keep your mind going. You know what I'm saying? And that changes when you get on the outside because now you got new worries. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, people are different. It's still the same environment in the sense that you still got to watch your back and you still got to do things, but there's a lot of essential things that are different. Having to work. Some people got to work. Some people got to, get to finding jobs. Dealing with people looking at them a certain way or making judgments. It just depends on your environment when you get out too. So. I find a lot of people struggle with those things when they're coming out of doing, long time like that. It just depends on what you want to do. Like if it's about adjusting, then we can address that. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that.
But again, to my point, some people come in with initial goals, but then others, have symptoms of feeling on edge all the time. Like one experience, me personally, that I've had, having to come out of a place of, a lot of violence on things, and I talked to them about this before, is the hypervigilance, always having to be on point, always having to feel like, you got to be ready for the shit to crack at any moment. That can
that's still the issue with me right now, though. I can be relaxed.
Froze up.
I notice that I can be relaxed and happy and giggling at one point, and then all of a sudden I'll be on guard, like looking around, like I'm still in the yard or something. Jail is very territorial, whereas at any moment, something violent can take up, can jump off. So so when I'm in a crowded place, the first thing I'm is surveilling my surroundings. I did that before when I was on the street, but now my antennas is up even more, like, because everything is moving more faster than it's moved because it ain't territorial in society. Everybody just moving free. So everything moving so fast, like coming past, that, I fall back into that same mentality,
Right.
And it's kind of hard to shake it, but I feel that, give it some time. I probably can wing my way back,
Well,
because right now I'm under house arrest, so I'm not out as much as I, would like to be, but, as I do go out, I'm gradually,
Yeah, well, good thing, I know a lot of people, you kind of get on house arrest and, it gets antsy, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I know it's better than, the alternative, but, I would use that time. I got a lot of homies that's in that same situation. And, what I try to do is, use it as a time to get used to what's going on. What I'm saying? Because it's better that you get it in fluctuations than it just hits you all at one point. Like you just out. You know what I'm saying? Now it looks like you got like a steady roof. You know what I'm saying? You got, your essentials are kind of, are taken care of, things like that. So to do what you're trying to do, which is wing it, basically what you're saying, because you're saying it takes time, it does. But the thing is that you have to consciously and actively address what you're feeling. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily, and I'm not just talking about talking to somebody like myself, but within yourself. And a lot of that is noticing your own symptoms. Like for me personally, I had physical symptoms of having to be hypervigilant. What you're talking about is being hypervigilant. Like I said, ready to think for things to crack at any time. And the problem with people like us is that not only do we got to face those issues within the system, but we got to face those issues outside of the system as well. You know what I'm saying? Being in the street, you still got to watch yourself.
Yeah, yep.
Still, you can still lose your life at any moment. And, we struggle with those things. So it's about finding that balance. And a lot of it can be things as simple as just breathing, like breathing techniques. I know now from years of, practicing these things when I'm starting to feel turned up. And that took for me to analyze myself. Like when I'm feeling like, I'm feeling like I might do something to somebody, or I feel like I'm finna get into something, like my heart starts beating a little faster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or like I start getting like, I might feel something in my shoulders or in my chest. Everybody's different. But taking the active approach of addressing your issues and noticing those things is the first step to getting to where you're trying to be, where, you function and there's balance. Because at the end of the day, you still got to be on point. Mm-hmm. The problem with psychology, and, and I've known this, I've done the whole psychology thing all the way through. The problem is like James said, there's not many tests on us. There's not many studies on us. You know what I'm saying? So normally when you see a therapist or a psychologist that's not from our culture, they're trying to get you to this ultimate place of just peace all the time, in Zen mode all the time. But we know that living in the environments that we come up in, we're not imagining that you might get shot on the corner. Like that's real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to just find a balance between being ready, but also understanding when we're not in those situations, which is a thing that I find a lot of people struggle with. You know, if I'm not in those environments, my mind is still looking for like the drama.
Right.
And when we in that frame of mind, it's very easy for us to get sucked into making bad decisions. Or if we're on point all the time, we're very reactive. So a littlest thing might set us off. Be like, you know, somebody could be looking at us, you know, we might interpret it as wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because we turned up and we ready to go. So somebody might look at us or do something that's not even that serious, and we might overreact. Next thing you know, we back in jail. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody done got hurt. You know what I mean? So that's why we have to be very self-aware of our internal processes and what's going on. And it takes time. It's like exercising. You know what I'm saying?
So is it like trying to recognize your triggers? Yeah. Like I know what bothers me, and regardless of how much I evolve, certain things still bother me. I just sort of deal with them different. But I know to keep all the things that trigger me away from me and only keep things that make me feel good around me, like puppies and babies. And I love female energy. You know, that's the reason why I left the music business, is because I was being triggered all the time, you know? And, you know, I grew up around guys like, you know, Lou Sims. And, you know, this is a person that's never disrespected me, always treated me like an equal or a brother. And, you know, I get around guys that aren't even half nothing, you know, and they do the nerdiest, do the most disrespectful shit, and I have to internalize that, you know. But I think coming from where we came from, even though I didn't go through what he went through, what I had to adapt was no fear. You can't be feared of nothing. No such thing. You know, you have to be conscious, but there's no weakness that can be shown. And you always have to be on point. You always have to be thorough. And that was like a certain cloth that you had to be cut from just to even feel comfortable around guys like that. You couldn't be uncomfortable.
Well, this is the thing, though. This is the thing. Because we got to make sure we get the language right.
Right.
This is the thing. What you're describing is not necessarily not having fear, but knowing what to do with it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because any real gangster that I've been around,
never say not scared.
With, everybody gets scared at some point. You know what I'm saying? Even me, when I was doing some of my grimiest dirt, I was still scared, but I'm not giving into the fear. I'm taking control of it and I'm using it to my benefit.
Right.
Because fear activates adrenaline that makes you faster, stronger, you know, quicker, you know, on point. But the problem is that when we're in that state of mind all the time, okay, not only does it affect us mentally, but there's physical damage. You know what I'm saying? Your circulatory system gets damaged by cortisol, which is the stress hormone. You know what I'm saying? Physical, so we age faster. You know, and then when you combine that with, you know, eating messed up food and some of the other things that we kind of indulge in, like, it leads to short life. So there has to be balance. So my thing is, not everybody is in a position, like some of us are lucky where we can control our environments, meaning like, okay, if I don't want this around me, I just won't have it. Right? But some people, they don't have that. They don't have that yet. You know what I'm saying? They might be in an environment where they're still exposed to triggers that they can't necessarily get away from. So it's about recognizing when you're triggered, not just recognizing what triggers you, but recognizing when you're triggered so that you can actively de-escalate. You get what I'm saying? If need be, you know, if your life's not in danger. This is what I'm talking about. If your life's in danger, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying a lot of times, most of the time, it's not like that. And we have to be able to recognize when we're starting to like overwhelm ourselves. And that's the key to this.
And you know, coming home, there's a lot of pressure. From what I would understand, I never had to come home like that. But just hearing what everyone else is saying and I'm sure there's a lot coming at him and him dealing with people that were there and that weren't there. And how does he deal with that part of it? Just dealing with his future, not worrying about it, knowing that it's going to be all right. I don't think anything is going to be worse than what he went through moving forward. So how does he get at ease knowing everything's going to be all right without having to worry?
Staying in the present. Anxiety lives in the past and in the future. When you're able to stay in the present, and this is, these are techniques, a lot of these techniques, like the one I'm talking about currently is called mindfulness. All right. When I start like tripping about the future or what's going to happen, things like that, what I'll do myself is I'll breathe, I'll calm myself down. I'll concentrate on something. It might be the birds chirping outside. It might be what's on television. It might be me counting things on the wall. Whatever it is, I'm centering myself to realize where I'm at that moment. I'm not in danger. I'm good. I got a roof over my head. I got food in the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? My family's good. These are the things that keep us centered. You know what I'm saying? And that's, because at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control.
So, hey, Lou, so when you hear you're going to do 27 years, how did you feel? How did you deal with that? What did you, I couldn't even imagine that moment. What was that like for you?
Well, from a kid, institutions, I've been in different institutions from a kid, from juvenile to state and now the feds. And then the feds, I was already, institutionalized, but at the time, a lot of people can say what they would do and what they won't do, but only you know what you're going to do at certain times. So certain things that that I involved myself in, I knew the consequences of them, and I was willing to face them. So when the time came to face them, I knew it was time for me to face them regardless of whatever the outcome was. So I was already prepared mentally for that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like every experience should be a learning. You know what I'm saying? My 27 years in the federal system was a learning to me. You know what I'm saying? Something that I would never want to repeat again, and I'm not going to repeat again. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to put myself to that. That was one of the reasons why I didn't go back to New York, because I didn't want the temptations, you know what I'm saying, to pull me back into that style of life again. Like my first bid, when I came home, I came home trying to catch up because a lot of dudes wasn't getting money. When I came home, that wasn't getting money when I left the street. So I'm looking at them like, wow, you know what I'm saying? They wasn't on my level when I left. So now I'm trying to play catch up. And by me trying to play catch up, I took all kind of risks and I committed all kind of crimes. You know what I'm saying? To get money. You know what I'm saying? Things that I've learned. But at the same time, like I said, these crimes that I committed, I knew what I was getting into. You know what I'm saying? So me doing my time, that was just, you know what I'm saying, me accepting my share of responsibility for what I did,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of people don't look at it like that. They do what they can do for self-preservation.
But I went to two capitals, you know what I'm saying? The feds and the state, two capital cases, you know what I'm saying? One I received 27 years for, one I was sentenced to for 3 years. I was on death row for 3 years for, right? Until I got it overturned and beat it in trial, So it was alhamdulillah that I beat it, but at the same time, that's what the law prepared. That's what the law had in store for me. But at the same time, like I said, I knew what I was getting into. You know what I'm saying? Just like everybody else knew what they was getting into. So therefore, I was prepared for that. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I'm glad you put your belief in that, like as far as Allah and having something to look towards and to give a method to the madness. Because a lot of times what happens is a lot of people who don't have any belief or don't have any, like I said, reason or rhyme, reason to their rhyme or method to their madness is that it's just anarchy in their mind because they can't find any reasoning as to why these things are happening. I'm glad that you were able to say, this is what God, Allah had in store for me. So I want to ask you, like, hearing that, do you feel like everything that's happened to you from a child or the young years that you was out here in these streets, do you think everything was for a reason leading up to
I think everything, like I said, everything is a learning. It's what you do, what you learn it. You either capitalize off it or you just stay in a state of ignorance. Like, I'm gonna say this. I've been slow learning, but I learned. You know what I'm saying? Whether it came to my crimes or whether it came to my institutional record. You know what I'm saying? Because I spent a lot of times in lockdowns too, and it was really part of the environment. You know what I'm trying to say? Being in a violent place at that time. But at the same time, after giving a certain thought, like this, for example, I know I can do the lockdowns, but then I had to think about my family too. You know what I'm saying? So after repeated lockdowns, my wife wrote me a letter and said, "Yo, look, I know you can do it. I know you got to do what you got to do, but at the same time, look how it's affecting me." And when she said that, it kind of affected me. Where I sat down and thought about it, where I realized I had to change. I had to, you know what I'm saying? I had to take these experiences and capitalize off it, and not try to let them keep being a repeated thing, because that's what's expected of me from the authorities. They expect for me to, any little incident that happened, they come get me. You guys, if it's not with me, it's concerned with New York. You know what I'm saying? So they come get me and they lock me down for it. You know what I'm saying? But now I got to realize, look, in order for me to get away from certain things, I got to chill out. So therefore, these long-term lockdowns that I've been in, I had good conduct, so I used that to advantage. I went on compounds to try to chill and try to keep the peace amongst minds. So it make me to go to a lower facility. I can really chill and enjoy my family. You know what I'm saying? So they won't have to fly all over to see me on the screen or TV, or a booth on the TV. They can see me and, we can get a hug or, you know what I'm saying, like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you would say that your family was a key motivator.
Key motivator for my change, to bring about change.
The reason why I asked that, or the reason why I wanted to kind of reflect that in what you're saying, is because having a purpose in life does the same thing. And that's why I asked you about, do you feel like there's, all these things you went through in life is for a reason? Because if you can find a reason, like you said, Allah has, plans for everybody. You know what I mean? Now you can get to the step of saying, okay, well, if it happens for a reason, then what's the purpose? And purpose can help keep you straight too, because now you got your eye on the prize. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You feel me? So it's like when you think about it in that context, now you can give yourself direction. Saying, all right, well, this is what I want to do. So that's why I wanted to ask you, like, have you in your mind and yourself, or have you started thinking about what your purpose is now?
Yeah, really, like me and Dame have talked about a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? And I really wanted to do these programs like this, these Zooms, is like for prison reform, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of brothers in there that don't have nothing and they suffering from the food, you know what I'm trying to say? The daily lockdown, the mistreatment by the officers in there, you know what I'm saying? We not only being oppressed in jail, in society, we being most definitely oppressed in prison. You know what I'm saying? Abused. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that y'all don't know about. Deaths that's not being published. You know what I'm trying to say? Just like it's going on in society, it's going on in there. Then we got bad food that's unedible. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't getting no source of income, you got to eat that. So you got, like prison reform, even like the youth. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell them what to do, but I can give them a vision of what I went through. You know what I'm saying? The pain and suffering I went through. You know what I'm trying to say? It may look like, you know what I'm saying, I survived it or was strong about it, but you know what I'm saying? I you know what I'm saying, I was mentally affected by it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And those are the type of things that you want to think about when it start getting difficult around you.
Right.
Like temptation starts kind of rearing its ugly head, you know what I'm saying? Or, even for me, it's like sometimes even being around certain people, I'll start seeing things in a different lens, and I got to catch myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, let me take this gangster lens off, and let me put on this conscious mind. You get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You know, so understanding your purpose and becoming one with your purpose is going to be one of the strongest things you do to recover from the trauma that you went through, because it is you've been through a lifetime of trauma. And not only a lifetime of trauma, but you've also experienced generational trauma from your family members. You know what I'm saying? And from the legacy of just us, as black people coming up in an oppressive place. You know what I'm saying? So we're dealing with past stress and present stress. You know what I'm saying? And so, and we're so caught up in just trying to survive every day and dealing with the everyday stress that we never address the stress that we're born with. So, and that's why it's very important for us to start where we can. So I'm glad that you kind of find that you kind of know a purpose, man, because that's what's going to keep you straight. You know what I'm saying? And now you can focus on your future as far as your purpose, because you got that road, and now you can begin to address the things from your past that you may or may not have dealt with. You know what I'm saying? That add to, some of that, that internal stress or conflict that you're feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I started with when you found out, and, I remember like last year, you were saying, I'm coming home. Cause I know when, I heard you was going to jail, in my brain, it was like, he gone. He never come home. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of people felt that way. A lot of people were probably, out of sight, out of mind. So when you hear that you're coming home, and I remember you telling me, and whatever happened, they gave you a little more, you didn't come home as early as you thought. But when it really became you're coming home, what was that like for you? What did your brain go into, and how have you been since then?
First of all, it seemed like it was that day was going to never come. From all the way down from the 9 months to the 6 months to all this, you know what I'm saying? Even when I was always go to the door, I still put in the pills trying to get home as quick as I can. You know what I'm saying? Like when I had 5 months left, I still put in the pills trying to get the COVID. You know what I'm saying? And you even wrote letters for me for that. But at the same time, right now that I'm sitting home and I'm talking to y'all right now, it's still like a dream to me, because, it's just so, even I'm confined to the house, it's just a lot of freedom that I got, So it's still like a dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it seems like you got a pretty good support system around you, which is also very important. Whether it's family or people like Dane, just having people in your corner, don't be afraid to lean on that. A lot of times, we get so independent, and I'm guilty of it too. Like we get so independent that we don't want to ask for help. We don't want to lean on our social support. But the thing is that social support is one of the strongest things that we have to keep, level. You know what I mean? So make sure that you're taking advantage of that. What was you gonna say, Dan?
Well, also, he's an artist. I didn't know that he painted. So it's somewhat, that's what I'm saying. He kind of found his therapy a little bit. He recognized it. That's what I'm saying. He's a smart dude. You know what I mean? So without being told, instinctually, he's finding his triggers and figuring out how to find his escape in his happy place.
Anything creative is great.
Yeah.
So what was that? Let's talk about the art. Yeah.
Yeah, the art helped it on lockdown too. You know what I'm saying? It helped pass the time by real quick. You know what I'm saying? Just drawing, it helped pass the time by. And then even when I was on the compound, the paintings, it helped me. You know what I'm saying? Because it kept me away from a lot of stuff that I was, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say forced to have to be around, but I was around. You know what I'm saying? So, and it helped me mentally. Escape my environment, because when I was painting, it was like I wasn't in the jail no more. I was like creating my own art. You know what I'm saying? You've seen some of the pictures that I drew. I had the pictures with the big chains on, the Timberland boots. You know what I'm saying? Mostly stuff I drew is stuff that I missed. You know what I'm saying? So it just helped me escape. Even when I was writing, writing my book, it was just my imagination, just just flowing with the pen. Getting a part of escape from my environment.
I mean, it's almost like meditation.
Right. Right. Along with the prayers is meditation too, because that helped a lot too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even the extra ones that I did, you know, when I was feeling frustrated, you know what I'm saying, or had to cope with certain things, I was gonna do while I was good. You know what I'm saying? To take my mind, you know, it's like relaxing, take my mind off a lot of things. You know.
Yeah, that's what we call getting into your flow. Call that, you know, being like into your flow, basically. That's like a psychological term. That's what like being creative, you know, meditating, praying, it gets you into a flow. You know what I'm saying? And it slows everything down. This is what essentially I want you to get used to doing. You're kind of already doing it. You know what I'm saying? What you can do like actively to address it physically is like, again, when you start feeling stressed, right? Like, or you feel like, you know, like I said, like I refer to it as like getting turned up. That's how we refer to it out here. You know what I'm saying? Out here in LA, getting turned up. When you feel yourself getting turned up, I want you to keep track of what you're feeling in your body, bro. Like where you're feeling it, like what's happening. Like I want you to take a mental note next time you feel like that, because what I want you to try to do is I want you to try to just breathe, like focused breathing. You know what I'm saying? Like breathing in, out. You know what I'm saying? You take a deep breath. You know, hold it in for like, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. Hold it out. Now, what that does is it gets oxygen to your brain. Okay? Once your brain gets that oxygen, it tells the rest of your body, like, oh, wait a minute, we good, we straight. Stop stressing. Stop pumping, stop the heart rate, slow it down. Let's turn off that adrenaline. Let's open up the brain so we can think better. Just oxygen does that. The human body and the brain is magnificent, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it works with just simple oxygen. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, like, again, look what happens when your brain doesn't have oxygen for just even 9 seconds. You know what I'm saying?
Just everything.
Like it totally goes dead. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So oxygen is very important. So what I want you to do is just take the time to notice where you're feeling those things. Do that breathing that I just told you about. And it's things you can look up because everything works for different people. I personally like things I can do quick. You know what I'm saying? Like I always talk about like when I'm driving and some fool want to cut me off or look at me crazy and I feel like, you know, like what? Homie, what you know? I can breathe fast. You know, I can do that quick. And it'll slow me down. I'll be like, all right, hold on. Like, chill. You know what I'm saying? I want you to try doing that and noticing where you're feeling things because you can actually direct those breaths to like your parts of your body. Like, for instance, if I'm feeling a tightness in my chest, I can in my mind direct those breaths into my chest. Like I'm breathing in calmness and I'm breathing out all the negative nonsense. If you're feeling it in your arms, you can do the same thing. You direct those breaths to your arms. You know what I'm saying? Wherever you're feeling it at. The more you get in the habit of doing those things, the easier it'll be for you to address whatever past traumas you're trying to address. Because a lot of times what happens is the same things that happen to us when we get turned on presently, like when somebody trip or we get involved in a situation that kind of take us there. The same reaction that you have to that is the same reaction you'll have to when you're addressing past traumas because the brain doesn't know that the brain has no concept of time. So basically, if you're thinking about a past trauma, your mind is now there. You know what I'm saying? So when I think about getting shot, before I was like, you know, kind of doing these processes myself, the mind thinks you're getting shot. You know what I'm saying? So you start feeling these different things. So the same thing that'll keep you cool presently will also keep you cool when you addressing your past traumas. You know, or whenever you want to talk about or address certain things, because, you know, there's a lot of questions, me personally, that I would have for you. Now people are different. You know, sometimes some people get right into it. Other people, it takes them a little time to kind of, you know, compose themselves so they're not overwhelmed by the trauma they're about to talk about or address. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I'd be curious to know how long in your life, when was the earliest that you felt this trauma? When was the earliest that you felt like you had to be turned up all the time? And why? You know what I'm saying? Like me, I can recall being 4 or 5 years old, already like knowing that my life was at risk walking down the street.
And he could tell you, when we were younger, we'd have these conversations in a funny way, like you two turned up. Like, you know what I mean? So, again.
Yeah, but it's crazy that you can say that because, I never really did drugs like after like my first bit. But everybody used to always think that I was amped up off of something. You know what I'm saying? Because, I was always in a playful mood. Dame was snap all day. Always energetic, and they used to always think that way. So, and always been like, had that attitude. So it's funny that you should say that when it started, because I can't even remember when it started, looking back at you.
That's because your mind has disassociated from that. But these are the things that you got to go back to and reflect on to address those things. Because what happens is that when we don't address those past traumas, we might not consciously think about them, but they're still there.
Yeah. And there's things that you've done to survive or that you've seen that seem normal to you because that's all you know. But these are the things that are unconsciously traumatizing. You know what I mean? So that's what you got to think about. Like maybe you don't know that it bothered you because it was survival mode, but it really did. And this is why you're doing certain things, reflecting. I understand that.
Yeah, that's, and again, this is nothing that happens in one session. I know, sometimes, and I tell people that because, a lot of times, people will watch Healing is Gangster. They'll see one session with somebody, you know what I'm saying? And, when it's on television, it's easy to kind of box things up and put a bow on it, you know what I'm saying? But like the normal process of dealing with these things, especially for people like us that have been heavily traumatized and suffer from PTSD, legitimate PTSD, you know what I'm saying?
The real one, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It takes time to do these processes. It's like an exercise. You got to rewire your brain. You're actively rewiring your brain.
Well, I can honestly say, again, the last year and a half could be looked at as severely traumatizing to certain people. Like I lost a baby. I had to go do this, all kind of in the paper, family problems with my kids and all this type of shit. But I was really able to have a conversation with Taj every week. And it doesn't feel like therapy. It feels like a conversation. But what happens is you sort of get validation on the way you dealt with things. And certain things are going to happen. And when you have the conversation before it happens, you know how to deal with it once you get there. So if I knew I was flying to New York or I knew I was going to have to go to a court or whatever it was I knew I had to do, we would have conversations about it. And then also I would have conversations about what had happened the prior week and how I was dealing with it. Cause every week I'd be in the paper for some real stupid. But he could tell you, he would watch how I was dealing with things from beginning to end. And whether you noticed it or not, there was evolution. And as a result, I didn't feel no anxiety. You know what I mean? I've been happy even through the sad times. So I do think it's important to have those kind of conversations and just keep a checklist on it. Did I breathe or did I feel that and deal with it? Because it's good when you can recognize it. Then when you like, damn, I should have recognized it. I do all of that stuff, and it works.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that that Dame did during that time, which we all have to do in therapy, is we have to hold ourselves accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to be able to call ourselves on our bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And when we're doing things that are self-destructive to us, you know what I'm saying? And we got to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and be able to, when you're talking to somebody that you trust, you get what I'm saying? Or confiding in somebody that you trust, you got to leave yourself open to, constructive criticism or, if somebody's saying, oh, well, you probably could have handled this differently. And I can definitely say that it was real. I saw that in Dame, and that's a hard thing to do when you're used to making sure everybody else is doing things correctly. It's hard to look at yourself, you know what I'm saying? And I saw that process with Dame. I've seen it within myself. And it's just something you need to have in therapy. You got to be able to like look at yourself and address your outside environment, of course, but you also got to address your internal environment, and accountability is a big key to that.
And you know what else I find? That because I'm a person that has to give a lot of orders and do a lot of things and people work with me and all that, things that bother me about people, things that trigger me about people, I always want to make sure I'm not doing the same thing that I hate that someone's doing to me. And 9 times out of 10, I find that unconsciously I'm doing the very same thing to people that bothers me. And that's the reason why it bothers me. I can recognize it. I know how it feels. You know?
That's called projection. That we call that projection.
Yeah. So when I give advice, it's like giving me advice. So I always know when I'm saying something to make sure I'm practicing what I preach.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So I would encourage you, Lou, to just, a lot of these processes you're already doing. Keep your purpose in mind. That's going to be big for you, bro.
Yeah, and I've been doing it. I know how to channel in on my feelings and redirect. It took a while. Like I said, I've been slow learning, but I learned.
Yeah.
So it take a lot to get me there now.
And check yourself. Like, and when I mean check yourself, I mean like do the calculation in your mind, because now that you're able to calm yourself down and kind of see things clearly, even when you're in these crazy situations sometimes, like check it and do the math. Like what I'll do is I'll say, does this situation equate to what I feel like doing to this situation? And most of the time, I'll sit there and go, oh, no, it's not. That's called cognitive behavioral therapy, a CBT, bro. You sit there and just question the situation and say, should I be really anxious about this?
But you know what's the best therapy though? Like when you relate to everything in Islam, you know what I'm saying? The way of Islam, you know what I'm saying? So when you relate everything to Islam, it's like a guiding for you,
Use it. That's what's going to empower you, bro. That's what's going to get you there.
For most people, to me, is recognizing that they need that, and then wanting to make sure you're in a good place. A lot of people won't even think like that. They won't even be like, I'm trying to get myself right. How can I? And then they recognize it's something that helps. They don't want to keep doing it. So I think that's, the biggest thing is that you want to make sure you're a better person.
We just have to recognize that there are 2 different steps. One step is knowing this. The next step is applying it. And that's a whole different step. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people know the information that we're saying right now, but it actually takes a lot to sit there and apply it. That's why it's like exercising. A lot of people you got to exercise to keep yourself in shape, right? But a lot of people won't. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take the step of just holding yourself accountable and just exercising it. The way you would exercise your muscle, exercise your mind. Exercise those breathing techniques, those relaxation techniques. It's an everyday exercise, and it's something you're going to have to work at the rest of your life, because we have a lifetime of trauma to address. So it never stops. You know what I'm saying? So, I always tell clients, a lot of people will come in with a goal of saying, I just want everything to just stop. Let's just make everything better and continually make things better. And we keep stacking those bricks. Pretty much, you're going to look up, you're going to have a house. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope. So, I definitely appreciate the conversation. Again, I think the good part about Lou is, he was such a big figure in what he was doing, that showing how that's affected him and making sure other people are not affected or go down the same path because they don't understand the recourse. He could tell you. So his intention is for people to learn from his experience, and I think he spoke to the senator last week. This week he spoke to y'all, and he's been very consistent about this evolution. And I'm happy because, no one knew which Lou was going to come home. You know what I mean? Hadn't seen him in a while. So I'm happy that this is the Lou that came home, to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
However I can, assist in this process, you know what I'm saying? Let me know. You know what I'm saying? If it's something about, like I said, Dane was talking to me weekly. Like, he aggressively addressed his situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, however I can help, if it's talking periodically, or, if you just want to address, because again, you have a lot to process.
Well, here's the thing.
Process all that. And, if I can help with that process, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? You family to Dane, that means you family to me, bro. So however I can help.
All right.
So, he's going to be doing his own TV shows, his own podcast. Basically, he has an experience that was legendary that people can learn from. He survived it in an honorable way. So in approaching it, we want to approach the therapy in it. We got to, to have true prison reform, you want to make it to where people don't go there. That's the best prison reform. Get people's minds right so they're not triggered enough to do something for 1 second that's going to make them go to jail for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing more of Lou, and Lou will probably be more in the capacity of the person interviewing and talking and all those things, but at the same time teaching, never glorifying, just showcasing the trauma that got him where he was and where he is now. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's about turning a negative into a positive and make everything a learning experience. And he just had a major one, but it would be a waste if nobody else was able to learn from it as well. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Taj. We're going to do this again. And, of course, books get made like this. This is important to me culturally, because it ain't no weakness on this Zoom at all. And everyone was very transparent, very vulnerable, and gave no f***s. And people should be able to learn like that from the real deal. I ain't been through half the I've been through, but I definitely learned from it. So
it's the commission, bro.
It's the commission, holla. You know what I mean? Gotta get you a shirt, Lou. Gotta get you a shirt. Get you a commission shirt. Get you right. I'm gonna see you a shirt. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Later.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.